Hey everybody, welcome back to PODcakes. Today's guest is Matt with Ladlesport Adv. We learn all things Matt growing up in Canada, being a DJ, and racing Miatas. If you like what we're doing here on PODcakes and you're watching or listening to this down here on the YouTubes, go down, like, subscribe, share, and maybe just leave us a comment, even if it's only one word. If you're listening to this on Spotify right now, go down, subscribe to the channel, and leave us a comment too. Means the absolute world to me. And if you really like what we're doing here with the channel, whether it's PODcakes or the motorcycles and pancakes, please consider becoming a Patreon member. It means the absolute world to me, and all the money earned from that goes directly into this channel, making it better for you, the listener and the viewer. So without further ado, here's Matt with Ladlesport Adv. Matt, we are finally able to get this little bad boy together and get our schedules to
It's
link up to
exciting.
get this thing done.
Yeah, I'm totally stoked for this.
I think it's been a few months that we've actually chatted. I think maybe you and I first met at Get Lost, Find Yourself
That's
over on
right.
Vancouver Island.
Finally.
And
Yeah.
I know, right? I think we followed each other for quite a while. And then
Any sort of
definitely.
association with Chris, and it's like, boom, there it is.
Right. Yeah. It was pretty good. So, yeah, like I said, let's see. It is January, and we met in September. So it's been a few months that we've actually known each other face to face. And I believe it was pretty shortly after that you reached out about like, hey, I think you rewarded it like a boring guest or something like that. And I was like, dude, you've got a little business thing going on. A lot of people know what that is, the ladle sport, and we'll get into that here in a little while. But yeah, it's I took some time off around the holidays, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I'm just pretty stoked to actually have our schedules meet and
It's
get
kind
you
of
on
nice.
here, man.
Yeah.
So I know for me and for you, we've had some interesting weather lately. This like little polar vortex or something. I don't know.
Absolutely crazy. It was, I think, at its coldest minus 47, and it doesn't matter if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. It's minus 47. It's cold.
Right.
And it's
isn't that
it's livable.
Isn't it right around there? Isn't it right around there where Fahrenheit and Celsius kind of match?
Yeah, 40 is where they match. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I knew it was really close to that. So, dude, it's cold, and
It's just cold.
We are on the backside of one heck of an ice storm over here in my part of the world.
I was actually keeping an eye on the weather because of what you said yesterday. I think about we're heading into this. We may be without power. So
yeah, it was. It hit pretty hard, but I don't think it hit it probably as bad as the weather people were expecting, because they don't actually know. So, but yeah, well, I woke up this morning and I was kind of, oh boy, look at all this, and I went outside and I took a picture and I put it on my Instagram story this morning, and I was kneeled down, or not kneeled down, but like squatted down. And I was in true Oregonian fashion. I was in flip-flops, basketball shorts, and a flannel.
I was going to
go down there. Right, of course. And so I had my phone actually on the ice and taking a picture of kind of down the street, kind of get.
I think you sent that. I think I saw it on Instagram, or you sent it to me, and it was kind of magical.
Yeah. And I just was sitting there and I kind of messed with the phone for a second. Feet came out from under me and I was like almost sitting to the full sit position. It's like, oh, I think it's time just to go inside.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Living up here with the snow that we've got, I'm sure there's other people, where there's snow all winter in the US and well, definitely elsewhere in Canada. You don't have two sets of wheels and tires for your bike. You have it for your car. One for the summer, one for the winter. That's just how we roll. It's the best way.
Yeah. So you just said you're up in Canada and I'm down in kind of
the Portland, Oregon-ish area. So what part? You're over Alberta?
Yeah,
Something like that?
just west of Edmonton.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'd say go
Yeah.
Oilers, but I don't follow sports. So, yeah.
I was gonna say something about the Oilers, but hey, we just figured that out. So no, you don't watch Shoresy or anything.
Oh, well, Letterkenny, that's a different story.
Well, absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I know a
So
guy. I know a guy from that area of Ontario where the show is situated, and he said yes, there are people like that, but he is not one of them. Yeah,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm not one of them,
yeah.
right?
He didn't
So
play
I
hockey
think,
growing up, so
yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are kind of curious, maybe who you are. So like I said, you have Ladlesport Adv,
yeah,
which is a lot of motorcycle products. And like I said, I want to get into that. I want to know kind of the backstory to that, where the name came from, the chicken and all that stuff.
yeah.
But I wouldn't mind just kind of creating her in reverse for a minute and just let's go back to little Matt.
Oh
Tell us a
boy,
little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? Any sports or what?
I grew up. I was born in Toronto, Ontario, out east. And as a young kid, I think I was 5, we moved out here during the oil boom in the late 70s, early 80s. Um, let's see, no sports. I didn't play sports. Yeah, I just sort of did my thing at school and hung out, did nothing, played with friends, not into comics, not into computer games, and that follows through to today. Um, let's see, I raced cars for a while, and it turns
Oh,
out
that's kind of
that Nathan from For the Love of Knobs, he and I both shared the same hobby for some time, and we raced 2 completely different cars, but yeah, I just found that out in September, is that he was also autocrossing, and which is a sanctioned sport. It's a lot of fun. Bring your car and just go ahead and race, and then drive it home. It's fantastic.
dude. We just went over a whole bunch of stuff there, so I want to know more about that. But what? How old were you about when you moved from Toronto over to
I was
Edmonton?
5, so that
5?
was that was a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
Well,
yes,
yeah, and I think I followed suit with you. I mean, when the OG Nintendo came out, you know, I mean, I had that. We were playing, Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt and all that stuff. But that was pretty much, my video game career, if you will. I never really got like super hard up on video
yeah,
games. It didn't become my life. I was too obsessed with sports, things on the outside. I just wanted to be outside. My dad, Mr. Mountain Climber, we would
oh
hike
yeah,
and stuff, and we were climbing mountains. And it seemed like in the summer, like quite literally every single weekend, we were camping or hiking or both, you know. So outdoors was very, very important to me. So when you say like I wasn't really into video games or computers and all that, man, I totally get it because I think
yeah.
you and I are pretty close in age, so we're in the same part of a generation, and we were just more okay. You wake up, you eat your cocoa puffs, you run outside, and
That's
you're
it.
outside till the street lights come on, and then it's like
Yeah, or you hear your
game
mom
over.
screaming that it's time for dinner. You know.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
my mom put one of those old school, like, cowboys little triangle
Oh yeah. Yeah.
out at her, and ding, 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 and it was just like, "Oh, I think I have to go home now."
My brother and I would know that it was time to go home when we heard the friends we were playing with getting called to go home. So it was like, oh,
Oh,
we
well,
might
there
as
you
well
go.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, time to go home. So, going over there, you said you really weren't into sports, so, like, what were your hobbies and such, like, through the high school years?
Oh, high school. High school I actually got
Besides girls?
into. Yeah. Besides that, I was big into DJing and electronic music, so I shared that with Chris Critter as a DJ. Um, Spent a few years doing that. DJed in a few clubs here in Edmonton, and for a few
Dude,
years.
that's
Just
rad.
had some fun with it. It was all right. But did that straight out of high school. Um, while I was working, just I don't know, Joe jobs. Spent
Yeah.
5 years in restaurant hospitality, and so segue to the ladle in Ladlesport. There's a reason it's there. That's one of them. Is the time that I spent, working in restaurants. Uh, let's see. After that,
Well,
see, I
before
told
after
you.
that, let I want to kind of go back to the DJing stuff real quick.
Okay.
'Cause I think the music and stuff is just fascinating. I have a bit of a background with music and
Yeah.
things, and so I really find I think a lot of people hear, oh, I was a DJ, and so I think there's this like big part of society that is just like, oh yeah, okay, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
and maybe kind of disvalue what you were doing. But I think there's a lot of talent, a lot of just cool stuff that comes along with DJing,
Yeah.
and so you were getting that as your hobby, so at some point in high school you're like, okay, you kind of put the crosshairs on something, you're like, okay, this has my interest, I kind of want to go forward with that, buying
Yeah.
equipment or whatever. So was
Absolutely.
it like, yeah, good, was it like kind of scratchy, the records, or was it more of like, hey, I'm gonna
No,
kind of get things going and kind of remix these songs and kind
definitely
of do
wasn't a
like this?
scratch. Yeah, definitely wasn't a scratch DJ.
Yeah,
I
more of
would.
the old school Steve Aoki stuff.
Oh well, it goes back even farther than that.
Yeah.
Lots of house, lots of jazz funk, um,
Oh, nice.
like UK R&B, um, UK garage, stuff like that, and all those types of music. I mean, you search for it on Spotify or whatever, and it's all still there. It's all still made. There's current stuff. It's absolutely cool. And my musical likes are so narrow that it sort of follows that same path. Um, I sort of grew up with the Guns N' Roses and the
Yeah.
Metallicas and all that, and then it was just like, okay, I'm done with that. And this is what I like. The I'm a bass junkie at heart, so the more bass I can hear, the better. Whether it's mind
I love it.
numbing or anything like that, I need to feel it in my chest, and then I'm having a good time. Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was fantastic. It was a good time. It's let's see, that ended. That would have been 1997 or 98 when I sort of put that
But
aside and just, I need to concentrate on other stuff. And I got, in 1999, I got married for the first time and it didn't work out. We amicably split and no kids, no nothing like that. So it was just like sell the house and we're done and split the proceeds. But I never got back into it. But by that time, I was working already for the company that I still work for now. So this year, this March marks my 25th anniversary, my work
oh
anniversary
wow.
with the company that I work for now. It's been an amazing ride. I'm hoping for 10 more years and then I'm out. So
That's pretty good, man. 25 years at anything is pretty legit for
yeah,
sure. So
I
I
could have
know I
been
keep
25 years of
dwelling.
being a slacker or something, you know.
Well, yeah, I know I keep dwelling on this DJ stuff, but you said he played a couple of shows. I don't want to glass over this because I'm
Oh,
finding this absolutely interesting.
yeah,
You
so
know,
I had a standing gig with two other buddies of mine, and we used to play at this pub in one of the main streets in Edmonton every Sunday, and there was a live band playing, and we played between sets, and it was magic. It was just we sort of down tempo stuff. It was a jazz funk band that was playing, and
okay.
I was also spinning at another club in downtown Edmonton, and that was a lot of fun. That was Thursday nights. So I think 6 months
Twice a
when
week.
I yeah, twice a week. It was
Yeah,
didn't get paid
that's
very much,
legit.
but it worked. Um, it it kept a pack of cigarettes in my pocket, and that's about it.
Yeah, man. That the club scene and starting out, man, that stuff it pays peanuts, really.
Yeah,
It absolutely pays peanuts. Or they want to pay you in other ways. Like, hey man, your band's down here. You want to get paid a couple bucks at the door? Do you want us to throw some coke your way?
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
that doesn't work for any of us. So, maybe a
I
couple
never had a
bucks.
drinking problem. It was other problems that I had, right?
Right.
Luckily not luckily not severe, but yeah, I working in restaurants, I definitely learned how to consume the adult beverages and stuff like that. And
Yeah, I've been trying to cut back until I get on a podcast. So, I got the old IPA here.
I would be
But
right there with you. Decided to do a dry January, and by
yeah, that a
accident.
boy.
And
By accident?
well, it was just like, okay, let's do it. My wife and I, it's like, sure, yeah, why not?
Sure.
And
Hey,
last weekend, it's like, I think I'm gonna have a drink. And I crack open one of my favorite IPAs that I had in the fridge, and it was just like, I'm not even enjoying this. So I don't know what to do with it. We'll see how the rest of the month goes.
sure.
And maybe I'll have one again, and maybe I won't.
Right. Well, I get that, Um, autocross.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, dude. I think it's funny that Nathan Fant. I think everybody that listens to this, because this is, we just rebranded here about a week ago. I decided
yeah,
to make a big rebrand on the podcast. So this is actually an episode of Inside the Helmet because you're very motorcycle related,
I am
and so I
now.
think you are now, and we are going to get to that for sure. But I think everybody that listens to this, I mean, Nathan Fant and Chris Fant, I mean, that's just kind of,
Those are
there's
two
certain names,
amazing people.
absolutely. And I just
Yeah.
think there's names, like Ben, Dork in the Road, Critter, those two, I think there's a certain amount of people where you just say them and everybody knows who they are and what they're about. So I'm actually really interested because in my hooligan days, back in high school and just out of high school, we used to pretend we were autocross or in a tough truck. And I had a little 1983 silver Ford Ranger, and we used to just do some ridiculous things on
I'm
that
shaking
thing,
my head.
especially yeah, especially with the boys in the back, the little sliding window open, we'd have Slayer or Metallica just blaring and just trying to jump railroad tracks. And oh my gosh, I don't understand how that thing actually drove. But anyways, I'm very interested. How in the world did you get into autocross? Because I've seen it on TV and stuff, and it looks
Well,
very rad and
it
very appealing.
it is a lot of fun. So my wife and I don't have any kids. We just chose not to. But, you know, parents with kids entering driving age very soon. Autocross is probably one of those things where your kids are going to learn the most about driving in an amazing
Okay.
community similar to motorcycles, where you ride with a bunch of people, you get to know a bunch of people, and you learn stuff from one another. It's probably the best, the safest environment to learn how to drive your car, have buckets of fun, and I mean, wow, Portland is really close to Packwood, Washington, and there is a national level event in Packwood every year, and or at least there used to be. I don't know if there is now, but national level autocross event in Packwood. It's like one of the hardcore events that everyone wants to get to,
Sure.
and it's like it's in your neighborhood. Like I knew friends that drove down there from here to compete there, and did reasonably well, but that was always a dream to get down there. But then, guess what? I rode a motorcycle for the first time.
Oh no.
Yeah.
How old were you when you were doing this?
Let's see. I raced on and off for 13 years. So from
No
like
kidding.
2004
So an
to
adult?
2016. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you're an adult and you're like, hey man, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do this.
It
How
was,
did you
it
how
was,
did you find it?
well, this is shortly after Fast and the Furious came out. So I think, what was that, 2001? When
Right.
that
That
came out.
changed
So
everything.
the car
Yeah.
scene changed everything. I learned sort of what it was through some friends who I ended up driving to San Francisco, or at least Northern California, to meet with. An old message board, Street Racing Online. So, yes, there was some like legit street racing going on in Northern California. I was not necessarily part of that, but I hung out with them on the internet, from Winterland up here in Canada, and ended up, getting to know one of the guys online, and we're just like, well, I'm just going to come down there. When it gets me away, I wouldn't say recently divorced, but my wife and I had separated. We were waiting for the divorce to finalize. It's just like, I need something to do. So I'm going on summer vacation, and I'm going to drive to Northern California. So that was, 2003. So that was the first time I was ever in California, in Oregon and Washington, as I drove up the coast to come home. But coming back from that trip, I had met a few people locally, and that's sort of where I learned about it, through another car club. And it's like, well, you should try your hand at this. I'm like, okay. So I pull up in my Pontiac Firefly, also known as a Geo Metro, and started racing a Geo Metro. But there's a class for it. So like, if you have in my case, the last vehicle that I was racing, it was a Mazda Miata, which is like the pinnacle vehicle. It holds its own against almost any car out there. But there's a class for like a 4-door sedan. Like I used to have I had a 2008 Toyota Camry, because it looked like a nice car, but there's a class for that. You can route across that if you want. It almost doesn't matter. It just can't be too tall and too narrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. I had a buddy with a Geo Metro, and we'd pack into that thing and just go flying down the road, and we'd have the windows down. We'd just scream, "I'm Geo!" Those ridiculous high school things.
So I kept that car, actually. I kept the Geo Metro that I built and started racing until I sold it in 2016. And by that point, it had a roll cage in it. I had built an engine and then took it apart and sold pieces from it, but I was pushing. So if anyone doesn't know, the Geo Metro, I think, has 55 horsepower at the flywheel. The 3-cylinder engine puts out that much. There's really nothing. It translates to like 42 horsepower at the wheels. Yeah. I took it, turbocharged it, did a whole bunch of other work, and I was making about 150 crank horsepower. For a 1,750 pound car and that much horsepower, it was just a blast to drive. Totally stupid, completely useless, but fun nonetheless.
Oh, I think that is freaking awesome. So you had 100 more horsepower, and then what did you have to do the suspension and stuff? I mean, you're throwing out a lot more torque, so I'm sure that the frame was getting a little.
We didn't worry. No. We didn't worry about that. Just drive it. Just drive it. So I definitely concentrated on the wrong mods in the wrong order. And I probably should have suspension first, and perhaps brake upgrade, little tiny changes here and there. But it just worked out that I built the engine first, and well, there's what I ended up with. And it's actually kind of what impressed my now wife, when we sort of met online back in 2005. I showed her a picture of the car, and she's just like, well, you drive a race car. I'm like, I don't care what it is, it's a race car. So I'd have to dig up pictures of that, but goes back a long way.
You might have to send me a picture to.
I will try and find it. Yeah.
Try to embed it in the description below here. That'd be pretty hilarious for sure.
Yeah.
And if you're watching it, maybe I'll put it up on the screen right now. But so getting into the racing, so you said autocross. So isn't that like you got little jumps and stuff too that you're going off?
That's rallycross. Autocross is rallycross. Yeah, autocross is parking lot racing, dodging pylons in a large expanse of tarmac. Yeah.
That
Big
is
parking lots work
awesome.
great. Exhibition grounds. There's old runways. I did a Canadian national event. It was on a runway in the middle of like nowhere in southern Alberta, but they could close the airport down and we're out racing for the whole weekend. It was great.
That is, hey, we'll just shut this down for a weekend,
Yeah,
let you
yeah,
guys race. I think that's rad, dude.
it is.
I
It
have
was
to
a lot
see
of
it, man.
fun. It
And
it I think it started. And we'll get to it more a little bit in a little bit, but I enjoyed the training that I got. Having taken a 2 day, a possibly multi-day training course for racing your car, and you're racing in
yeah,
your own car with qualified instructors, and they just teach you everything, basically everything you're doing wrong, which was absolutely fantastic. But it changed my next year of racing um, to the point where I was able to just say, I don't think I need to do this anymore. But
oh
like I said,
really?
we'll get into that. Yeah, it was kind of an interesting story, just the timeline of, I'm racing cars, but we haven't mentioned motorcycles once,
Yeah.
and just how that all happened. And yeah, I blame my brother-in-law for motorcycles. It's all his fault.
Is it though? Is it? you know, I think it's freaking awesome, man. So tell me about your first race. When you come
Oh,
pulling up and you had the old Geo. I mean, I'm sure there were nerves and you're trying to make sure everything's all figured out and
the nerves were
let's
so
let's get
bad.
at it.
Oh my God, it was terrible. The nerves were so bad that every time, because it's not only going fast, but it's also slowing down and stopping
Yeah.
in these sort of races. But my leg was vibrating on the brake pedal, just because the adrenaline was pumping through me. It was, the smile was ear to ear, but it's just like I'm just a nervous wreck. It was crazy. It was awesome. It was almost something you can't even explain. You have to experience it more than
Sure.
more than just talking about it. I could still feel it, but my first race would have been, I think, 2003. Yeah,
Oh man. Yeah.
with the Edmonton Corvette Club. Yeah, so I
That's
was
good.
there in my Geo Metro, um, racing a few other cars, and the majority of them were Corvettes. But just like golf,
Okay.
there's a handicapping system for it. So the uh, the easy decision to not race anymore was because of that handicapping system, and also the non-handicapped time you have that you're able to accomplish around the course. And it's a single lap time trial sort of style thing. Start
Oh,
start
okay.
finish.
Okay.
You go from a stop and you come to it, or you start from a stop and then you come to a stop, and you're triggering timing lights and stuff. Hitting cones as penalties, going off course, either a DNF or a complete penalty or just a time penalty. And one of the biggest things that anyone can accomplish in any car is getting the fastest time of the day, regardless of which group you race with. And I managed to do that. This was after the training that I took, and just years of beating my car to death, but not at the same time. It's actually not terrible on cars, even though I've seen it destroy some. Um, it I got the fastest time of the day in raw time, and also in the handicap time. So that me being able to race with the Corvettes and then beat them in the raw time, but also get the fastest time in the handicap format, where your Toyota Camry, it has a huge handicap margin, and then so it can match up with the Corvette. Um,
Right.
it To do that in one event, it was amazing. Um, I never was
That's
able to do
actually
it
really
again.
cool.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's so much fun. Like, if you've got If I had the car, I probably would still be doing it, but just for enjoyment, not for the competition.
Sure.
Tires are expensive, brakes are expensive, but that's really your only consumable other than fuel and oil changes. Um, and you can keep the car builds to like the bare minimum. You don't need to go out and spend $10,000 building an engine. Just race what it has. That's how that. And the more modifications you do, the bigger you're handicapped in a way.
Right.
Because depending on what class you fall into, changes everything. So you could try and make your car faster, but in the long run, you're slowing yourself down because of that handicapping system.
Totally get that. Totally get that. That sounds like a freaking great time,
It's a hoot.
actually.
Yeah.
Just running around against the clock, and then especially beating the old Corvettes, because you kind of have just that stigma of the stereotypical Corvette driver,
Yep.
and you come wheeling in on the Geo, and you're like, yeah, whatever. I don't
I
care what your
I
handicap
never
is.
I never did anything in the Geo that was that sort of thing. The fastest time of the day that I got was in the Mazda Miata. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get you some pictures of that too. That was a fun car to work on and to race. And the only time I felt my age driving it around was getting in and out of it. So but
Truth.
I
So when was this Monster Miata? Was that I mean, you started with the
I
Geo, right? So at
yeah.
some
So
point you kind of upgraded, if you will, to the
there was a
Miata?
time where I didn't have a car to race. Um, I was team driving a car with a friend of mine. We built the car. It was a Honda Civic. Everyone else's, or there's it's a go-to vehicle again. Depending on what class you want to race in, get a Honda Civic. It's
Yeah.
perfect. Um, so we were racing that for a couple of years, trying to think, and then I took another year break. Got into a car accident. Driving home from work, I got rear-ended pretty bad. Um, and replaced my Jeep Grand Cherokee with a Mazda Miata because why not? I found one for sale. It's like I'm going to buy that, and
Heck yeah.
that was 2011.
Okay.
Yeah,
2011, you got the new Miata rolling. I know there's a little group of kids that are running around with those right now
yeah,
around the neck of the woods
yeah.
that I'm in. They're all stanced out. Their wheels are all looking dumb, but
Yeah. I
eh,
I look at some of the cars now, and it's just like, well, what good is that now? You've destroyed the car. Like
right.
you've removed all practicality from it. It's like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my oldest son got into that drifting scene for a hot minute. Thank God it wasn't something that he really was into like hardcore, but excuse me, we went out to we have Pat Acres here. It's a little racetrack. Team Oregon does some advanced cornering classes out there, but they also do the drifting and
yeah.
all that. We went out and watched one of those. He was like, "Oh, you got to come out and watch. My buddies are doing this. My buddies are doing that." I'm like, "All right, dude, we'll come out there." And I was just sitting there, me, my business mind. I'm sitting out there watching this guy in this like truck with a trailer, and all he did was change tires all day. He had
Wow,
a trailer full of tires, and he had a tent, and the cars would go out. They would come out. They would buy tires. He would change them. They would put them on. They would go out. They'd come back. They would buy tires.
that's
I
a
was
good
just like,
business model.
man, this guy is making a killing.
Yeah,
Come on here. Yeah, yeah. Here's your tires, kids. Yeah, dude. So you're doing the old the race thing. And you said that's kind of in timeline while you were doing that. You met your current wife, the wife,
yeah, yeah. So
and
we met late 2005. Yeah,
okay. And so you said online. You met her online,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Was
We
it
we we
what?
met on the internet.
Oh man, how very 2000s of you.
It definitely was. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
it
So
took
you guys
it took a few to
kind of
find
met.
this one.
Yeah. So you said she was impressed with the car, right?
Yep,
You're a race car driver, so it seems like the old car gave you a little bit of bonus points there with the new lady.
I think so. she gave
Yeah.
herself some bonus points. After I guess we were technically living with one another, and I came home from work, and she was in the garage, working on her car, and she was changing one of the valve cover gaskets because it was leaking. I'm like, well, what are you doing? She's like, just changing my valve cover gasket. And I'm like, I think I love you. And it was just a match made in the garage.
Dude, that is awesome, actually. So she's out there turning wrenches, and you come home and you're like, all right,
Yeah. So
nice, man.
the national level event that I did and the training that I did in the Mazda Miata, she was my pit crew. So she was changing tires for me and stuff. And I'm standing in the driver's meeting, and she's jacking the car up, changing tires and stuff, and getting it ready for the next heat or whatever it was, or just in the case that we're getting ready to pack up and go home. Yeah. So
Wow, dude.
I got a good
That's
one.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you raced until when was it? Like 2015?
2016 was the
2016.
last
Yeah.
the last full year that I competed in, because of that fastest time of the day. That was monumental. But it's
Yeah, you're
also
like,
it's also the same year that I rode a motorcycle for the first time.
oh man,
That
that's
was a
right. So we're
mistake.
gonna oh man. We'll get to that here in just a second. Just a second. But so you've been working for your company, and you said you're not gonna splat out the name, but they're a pretty large corporation,
They
if you will.
are, or we are, the world's largest Caterpillar equipment dealer. We're
Oh,
on
okay.
3 continents: Canada, the UK, and South America. We're all over the place. But so
Yeah.
my job specifically supports their component reman center here in Edmonton, and I work in the machine shop as a technical consultant and advisor on repairing parts and, what's the best way to put it, figuring out how to remanufacture things in the most effective way possible that restores the most number of lives into the component. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's a pretty big deal right there. So
It's basically large scale engine and powertrain component recycling, but to the point where we restore um, complete capacity as if the engine or transmission or torque converter was brand new. So you can put it in your mining truck and go move ore or bitumen or anything like that.
right, right. So basically in the machine shop side or the machining side.
Yeah.
Um,
So in the machine shop side, how I got my start was actually in the chrome plating facility that we had, and we're no longer chrome plating. It's a huge environmental, not catastrophe, but risk.
right.
Everyone saw Aaron Brockovich, the movie. Hexavalent chromium was not running through my veins, but it was one of the chemicals that we had to deal with, and environmental spills are incredibly hard to clean up. Uh,
Yep.
and it's just toxic. It turns your internal organs to mush. Um, and it's a nightmare. So we've sort of moved away as a company from using it. The company that we are a dealer for, Caterpillar, has moved away from it almost completely, and they're using different products and different methods for attaching them to the parts to get the same longevity that chrome plating has.
Sure. Yeah,
But
there's been a
I'll keep
lot
an
of
eye.
growth for sure in that side.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and just I hold a lot of chemicals, in my professional life. So I'm always that guy when I making a delivery and whatever I'm hauling, whatever the chemical is, I'm always like, so what do you do with this stuff? I just want to know. I'm just curious
yeah,
on what all these do, and you'd be surprised how much sulfuric acid is used in everything. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's kind of incredible.
It's
One of the weirdest things is man, a long time ago, I went to one of the big grocery warehouses with a load of sulfuric acid, and I just thought it was weird. I'm coming up with totes, like
Yeah, like,
basically 2,200-pound totes, full of sulfuric acid. I'm like, okay, here's all the bread trucks and the produce and everything, and I'm wheeling by, and they're like, "Yeah, put it over there in dairy." Like,
huh?
okay. It,
What?
it was a first part that they mixed with cleaning the big dairy tanks,
Oh,
the milk tanks
okay.
there, and I was like,
Yeah.
made me want to run out and buy milk, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always curious on how the chemicals are used and what the process is, and I
Absolutely.
just an education junkie for that. But so getting into your chrome plating job, did you? And I just know loosely stuff about machining and the math and some education that goes into that, and certificates or whatnot. But were you like in high school DJing and thinking about this? Well, you said you went to the cult or hospitality for a while,
Yep.
so we're gonna have to get into that. But at
Oh, yeah,
some
we
point
we
through there,
skipped
were you
over
like,
a bunch of
yeah?
stuff.
Did you go back to school
I
for
did
that, or
not
was it just like was
know.
it on job training?
On the job training.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't have post-secondary education, or technical school or anything like that. I sort of fell into it, cutting my teeth in the chrome shop, and then eventually, well, not eventually, but a year later, I moved into the grinding department. So I was grinding industrial crankshafts, that we were chrome plating, and and other hydraulic parts and stuff. And
Sure.
yeah, so hands-on training. That's how I fell into where am now, just through a complete exposure, and just left it at that.
Yeah. Hey, that works out pretty good. You get into a job, and obviously they've been treating you right. I'm sure it has
I
its ups and downs, but 25 years, man,
I
that's
wouldn't
a
be
long
there if I
time where
was
you can
being
be like,
treated poorly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So let's go back a little bit. We did just skip over a whole bunch of stuff. So you're
Yeah.
sitting there doing the DJ twice a week. Was it Sundays and Thursdays?
Sundays
At
and Thursdays.
getting a little bit of cigarette money,
Yeah.
and
I would it started during, like, a 6-month break from working. When I left working in the restaurant, I was, just completely burnt out. I was 23 years old. It's just like, I'm done with this. I need to stop. I need to get away from it. And I took 6 months off and did nothing. I sat at home. I was living with my parents. It's like, I don't need to worry about that. So the
yeah,
DJing came up and it filled a void. It bought me cigarettes, and that was that. But I
a
think
little bit of a hobby.
smoking was still kind of cool at that point. But it was, yeah. Anyway, I quit smoking like 10 years ago. But yeah, smoking was still kind of cool. So that's why everyone did it, right?
Sure, I guess I never. That was something I never got into, but um, so out of high school, you're bouncing into you said hospitality. So how'd
Yeah,
you fall into that?
I like doing it. I
Yeah.
still like cooking now.
So it was cooking is what you were
Yeah,
doing?
yeah,
Okay. I think, you say hospitality, I think sometimes you think, anything working on, a maid or whatever from a hotel or the front desk of the hotel to
that's right. Yeah,
maintenance to cruise ships to, whatever. I think that's a pretty general term. So you were actually cooking back then. So were you like cooking before you got into that? And you're like, hey, I want to try to do this maybe for a living or maybe
it's
just a
it
job
started
or
it started as a job in high school, and I was just working
okay.
at XYZ restaurant, just making some money, and
Yeah.
I think I liked it more than I thought I would, and just sort of moved up and got a job at a better restaurant with a little bit better of a reputation, and I think I spent 3.5 years there, and Yeah, totally burnt out after that time. It was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good, man. I can cook probably the best burnt toast you've ever had.
Well, there's got to be a little bit of it that's burnt. The rest of
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, let's be real there. I can do pancakes and I can do some cooking, but I'm uh, not the best at it for sure. But so you did that for about 3 years, and was there anything that you were like, my specialty, or what was your favorite dish that you're like, oh, I like it when they order this. It's
Uh, I was
easy.
I was over Christmas. I was talking with Owen Lush, and he's from
Great
out
guy.
east. He's from the Maritimes, and I just told him that I had just finished making a big pot of clam chowder, and his response to that was, "I'm on my way." So he's I think I'm going to try and quickly do the math. I think 300 miles or 250 miles north of me up in Fort McMurray, and it was no hope he was going to get down here. But yeah, I like
You're,
making soup. Soup is
you're like,
good.
well, oh yeah, okay, that's pretty good. I don't mind eating it by any means.
I
That's
like, here's the other thing. I love cooking a turkey. I don't
yeah,
like turkey.
really,
I, I, I like the stuffing. I don't like the
yeah.
turkey. I like cooking the turkey. I like making the gravy. I like making this. I like
Uh-huh.
making everything else. I don't really like turkey.
Okay, okay, yeah. We usually do the turkey down here on the Traeger.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
do it once, twice a year, whatever. But yeah, man. So get out of the hospitality. You took some DJing time
Mhm.
to yourself, and then you got on with the company that you are. Started racing.
No, see, there's the gap that we're missing. So
Yep.
something that you and I share is for about 6 months, I dabbled in the logistical arts as shipping, receiving, dispatch, and learning how to drive a truck on the side.
Oh, no
So
kidding.
yeah, yeah.
Nice. Are
I
you a CDL holder?
No, no, not
No.
anymore. Um, I
Still rad.
just in training. I think what was it? I was pulling 328-foot pups and
Oh wow.
two 53-foot dry vans, just moving them
Mhm.
around and stuff. Yeah,
That's
it
pretty good, man. Right.
it was kind of fun. I liked sort of the mechanical aspect of driving it, but
Sure.
it didn't turn my crank enough to want to pursue it. So
Yeah, I get that. It's a love-hate relationship that I have with it.
yeah,
I'm actually currently I've been doing this for over a couple decades now, and I'm just like I'm ready to move on and do something else, and my life trajectory seems to be going in a different direction right now,
yeah,
and I'm trying to find a way to kind of fulfill that, but it pays the bills, and it's one of those things where kind of stuck with this business, and I built this business, and I did this and this and this with it, and it's just to the point where like I'm literally tickling 3 million miles, in
wow,
my driving career, and I'm just like, no
that's insane.
accidents, no moving violations. I mean, I've had some overweight tickets, here and there, but who hasn't? Because sometimes you just are like, I'm fine,
I
and you're
gave
like, oh
myself
wait,
one of
I guess
those
I'm
just
not.
the other day.
What was that?
I gave myself an overweight ticket just the other day.
Oh no. Yeah, that definitely one of those things, but it's weird because I'll be out on the road and all I want to do is be home,
Yeah,
right? You're out and you're just doing your thing and you're just like, I just want to be home. And one of the things with me is I've kind of been talking with this with Casey is we used to like when I'd leave town, you'd have day one, two, and three, right? So you're pulling out and you're leaving the house and you know you're going to be out for a minute. Day one sucks. It's
yeah.
the emotional day. It's the heavy heart day. It's like, "Man, I don't want to leave the fam. I don't want to do this, whatever." Day two, you're like, I don't want to do this, but here we are. We're out here doing it, right? So whatever. And day 3, it's like that's when I would cross the Rockies, and you get into the Midwest and whatever, and you're like, okay, we're into the routine. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right. But now it's just like day 1 every day. So that's
Oh,
another telltale sign of like, yeah, I need to be done,
yeah.
So that's a little off-ramp conversation right there. I think it's pretty cool that you were trying to drive truck and doing, I think we call that the Rocky Mountain set of doubles with 253s, and then a
Yeah.
set of trips with the obviously the 3 pups with you. So I think that's kind of fun.
It's weird when there's
And-
like 100 feet of stuff behind you,
yeah,
or
yeah.
more. It's just like, this is so weird. And you go around a corner and it's just like, you're waiting, you're checking your mirrors, and you're waiting, and it's still there. Yeah. I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun when you're pulling doubles or whatever trips, and you just kind of move the wheel just a little bit. You see that back trailer swerving all over the place.
Yeah.
It's like, oh boy, absolutely, man. Yeah, that's the trucking world right there for you.
Yeah.
But so we're gonna have to fast forward, or not fast forward, but we're gonna have to kind of just hit the button to kind of bring it all together. So 2016, you're racing cars.
Yep.
You got your wife with you, and somewhere along the line is your brother-in-law, I believe you were saying. And he
Yeah.
was just like,
We
"Hey,
went.
man, here's 2-wheel things."
Yeah. So he had already been riding, and he rode sort of since he was a young adult. I had been exposed to it and found it absolutely useless. My brother rode, he had a Yamaha V Star back in the early 2000s. And I'm like, yeah, I like my car better. I can do all of this with it, and I don't have to put it away in the summer or in the winter.
Right. Right.
And, I sat on it, and, it's like, it's just not my thing. I don't like it. And fast forward to 2016, we were on vacation. My wife's family decided to rent some cottages in southern BC, and we all sort of met up. And he brought his CRF 250L, and that's the same bike as Critter's got. And
I was about to say, he just spoke his language right there.
yeah, and I'm standing there, and I think it was the day we got there, and he hands me his gloves and his helmet. I'm standing there in a t-shirt and shorts and tennis shoes, and he's like, "What's the worst that can happen?" I'm like, "I could die. You don't get it. I could die." And he's like, "You know how it works, right?" And he's talking to me, he's pointing at the clutch and the brake and stuff and the shifter. And I'm like, "Yeah, I understand how it works." He's like, "You'll be fine. Just try it." And 5 minutes later, I come back. I was just riding around in circles in this field, and I come back and I tear the helmet off, and I'm just like, Sue, my wife, I'm like, "Sue, I need to take a motorcycle safety training course. I need to do that right now." And a month later, we were taking the course. But in the month leading up to that, it was like, I just want to ride a motorcycle. 2 weeks after riding it for the first time, I bought one. And because a friend of mine had a KLR 650 that he wasn't looking at selling, but he didn't ride. And I'm like, "Hey, Jamie, what are you doing with the KLR?" He's like, $4,000. That was his response. He's like, I'm like, "Okay, I didn't know any better." And it was a wonderful bike. I kind of miss it, but it was an amazing gateway. So in that time, yeah, in the month leading up from when I first rode a motorcycle till the time I my wife and I took the MSF course, was me convincing my wife to take the course with me. By heritage, my wife is Polish. She was actually born in Poland. And one thing that a lot of Polish people do in the summer is pick mushrooms in the forest. And I said to her, I'm like, "Do you realize how many mushrooms we can find if we go looking for them on the backs of motorcycles?" And she was sold right there. It's like, "Yes, I will take the course with you." And I think I was riding a 250L again in the MSF training. She was on a CBR 125. And since that day that I mentioned going to pick mushrooms on motorcycles, we've never picked mushrooms on motorcycles.
Sounds about right.
It like we're too busy riding our bikes to go pick mushrooms now. So we did.
Yeah.
I think I did. I was up there close to what Owen was able to accomplish this year, or this 2023. I think I did almost or over 10,000 miles. I think almost 17,000 kilometers last year. And that was
That is amazing.
well, we were down into Northern California last year. And we got as far south as Fort Bragg, California, which is a must stop place. It's a destination for sure. On a bike, in a car, doesn't matter. Just go there. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Dude, I didn't know you rode that much last year.
It was, and I've done it all with a set of tires. Ask me how. I don't know.
I was like, I'm sorry, what?
I have 10,000 miles on the set of Dunlop Trail Max missions, and I don't need to change them yet.
See, okay, so I've had some of those, and I didn't get nearly those kind of miles, but I don't know how much riding you and I actually did up there in Vancouver. I think you went with the fans for the day.
We rode past one another.
Yeah,
in the field with the excavators that
right,
yeah, we rode past one another, and that's when I broke down. I got totally emotional. It was kind of fun. But it was that's the only riding you and I have done. It's just that.
It's just in passing.
Yeah.
Hey. So I actually have a pretty rare disease that I don't know if a lot of people really know about, but I'll let everybody here know. It's been something there's no cure for it. And it's actually pretty tough. It's called brapitis. And I'm always just brapping the throttle, and I'm always trying to throw rocks and brap. And I go through tires, man, because of that.
Yeah. I don't even put my bike in sport mode. Unless unless I need it. Yeah, the Super Tenere doesn't. Yeah, no.
Oh yeah,
It scares the poop out of me a little bit.
I don't know, man. I just the way that I ride, and I like to ride, and I think the guys that ride with me a lot, like Pancakes and Sean, and I think Critter, he and I have done pretty extensive riding together, and man, I'll just be like, I don't know, just cruise down the road, I'm like brap.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Hey, look, let's see if I can throw a rooster tail. It comes at weird.
Oh, and don't get me I was riding on New Year's Eve here, just earlier this month, and I think on the gravel road, on some random gravel road, it's a straight section. It was a nice hard pack, and I was in second gear and just putting along at 30 miles an hour, and it's just like I've got a bunch of engine left, and I just gave it all I had, and just lit it up for 600 feet, and 2 gear shifts later, and it's just spitting everything out behind me, and the tires are still fine. So I do like to be a little bit of a hooligan, but not on pavement. Definitely a reserved rider on tarmac.
Yeah, that's Sean too.
Yeah.
He gives me a little bit of a hard time when we're cruising, point A to point B to get off on onto the gravel or whatever. But I call it urban adventure riding.
Yeah.
I'll leave like a gas station, for example, or whatnot, and I'll make sure I jump the curb to get back out. If there's a roundabout, I'll hit that, try to jump a little bit or wheelie or something across,
I can't do
something. Something stupid like that. He gives me a hard time, and I think it's funny when Sean's like, you didn't use your turn signal or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I know. I was too busy goofing off. But yeah, I call it the urban adventure riding for sure.
Yeah,
It's
I
always
probably guilty of a little bit of that. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna put the bike over and go around a corner aggressively, and it is a Super Tenere and not very good at doing that, but it'll do it if you want it to. And yeah, I just like to have fun in the dirt more than anything else.
oh
Or,
yeah,
or
getting
like the slowest speed possible. Um, Going back to the MSF training, we were learning how to slip the clutch and stuff and just figure out how, you know, just to get the feel for how it's all supposed to work together and how you can use it to your advantage. And ever since that day, the first day of the MSF training, um, every chance I get, similar to you going to the practice area just to do a couple brake checks and whatnot, just to get yourself back into feeling it. It's like I'm going to practice my low speed maneuvers and my low speed turns and all that stuff, and I'm just going to slip the clutch the entire time. I don't care. I'm just going to do it because that's what I like doing. And yeah, if I could take
dude
an
that
MSF train, if it was free here in Alberta to take like an MSF or similar course every year, I would be there every single year doing it, just because it's so much fun.
well, I
Not
think what you
because
need to
not
do
because I'm
is
showing off to people, like, hey, look what I can do,
yeah.
haha. No, it's just because it's fun, you know.
Oh, it is, and I think a lot of people that don't ride, they don't understand, 50 miles an hour coming into a corner, and you're counter steering in, and you're getting that bike leaned over, and you're at a pretty good clip going around that. You got a little bit of G's pushing on you and stuff, counter steer out. That's exhilarating. That's a lot of
Oh
fun.
yeah.
However,
Or trail
going,
braking into a corner.
yeah, I mean, doing all that, it's awesome and exhilarating, but the slow maneuvers, going super slow, trying not to tip over, don't put your foot down and stuff, man, that is so much more difficult than all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Like
There
hands
was
down, not even close.
one of the guys that I try and support as best I can. He's out in Wisconsin. He's Navy or Coast Guard, and he's stationed out there now. He's he's doing a 100-day static balance challenge on his enduro bike, and I was like, well, I've done this before. I think I posted a video on my YouTube channel just because it was a bunch of hacks that you can use to, work on your static balance, and it doesn't really matter what size bike you have. I was using my trials bike, which I've since sold, but I think I was like 2.5 minutes static balance on concrete.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's a
I
long
was
time, man.
and I was talking to the camera while doing it, so I was completely under pressure. I couldn't. I was trying to show off a little bit, but it's because I practice it all the time that it looks almost effortless. Um,
Right?
and I think I said, Nick, I'm gonna go show you what I can do on the Super Tenere, because right now it's the only bike that I have, and I think I got like 18 or 19 seconds on the Super Tenere. Static balance, engine not running, concrete floor, and just do what you can. And I was just like, the first time I ever did it, it was so wait, oh man, it was 32 seconds, not 18 seconds on the Super Tenere.
Ooh.
Yeah. I did the first time I ever did a static balance challenge was on my KTM 350 EXC F, and that was 18 seconds after trying, like, practicing for like half an hour. But then that's where it started, to like the desire to want to practice even more, was that challenge. That was, I think, 2019. I had gone down to Utah to ride with a bunch of guys with Everride. Tyler, well, that is another amazing individual. And one of the guys, he posted up, and tagged me and, called me out and said, show us your best. And I got 18 seconds. Other guys that I had ridden with down there, they're like, barely a second. They just couldn't get it. And from there then on, it was just like, I need to figure out how to do this better. And I posted the video on YouTube. I can send you a link to it. And the hacks are amazing, and it works for any bike. I had my wife come into the garage. I said, just give me 2 minutes. I will have you doing this, and you'll be able to take your hands off the handlebars and still static balance the bike. And it's just, the technique works. I'm sitting here like Tony Little, technique, but it's it's just so much fun. And any chance I get, I'm gonna do it.
It's I'm listening to you do this. I'm like, man, I need to get my ad out, and I need to head back over to that training course over there, and I need to get more gooder at doing the static balance, because obviously the little things like that, it makes you safer and a better rider.
Oh yeah,
being able to figure out your balance and stuff. So yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, the biggest thing is don't look at the bike while you're doing it. Focus on something else, in front of you, and just build that muscle memory. It's a lot of core strength, it's like that you need, but it's just a lot of fun. I put my bike in storage. It's sitting in a sea can here on our property. And the only bike that I have in the garage right now is actually Owen's Africa Twin. So I might take it off the list and practice with his. Yeah.
I think that's pretty good. That's the Twinsy to my bike.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, Owen's a good dude. I didn't realize you guys were buddies like that. Coming down
when we were down,
stuff.
Yeah, when we were down, my wife and I were traveling in the US this past summer. Owen was like 300 miles behind us, almost on the same path going through. We were in Fort Bragg at the same time, actually, because my wife and I spent 2 days in Fort Bragg just taking a break. And we didn't get a chance to meet up. So the first time we met in person was actually was on the island in September at Get Lost, Find Yourself.
Wow. What an event. I mean, it brought everybody together.
That was so cool. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, man. So doing your static challenge and all of that, what do you think was the best part of hitting, what would you say, 32 seconds? I mean, was that like a goal, or were you just like, I'm just gonna go as long as I possibly can?
The goal was get as long as I could, and then record it and post it on Instagram. Yeah.
So in that video, do you talk about like, hey, this is how you do it? This is the best.
The video that I have on YouTube, yeah. It's like 13 or 14 minutes, sort of a cut or a condensed tutorial, but it goes through everything. There's a couple bullet points that I throw up on the screen with what to do and what makes it work and where to start. Not just like, getting up on the bike and saying, look at me, I can do this, it's really easy. No, it's like, start here and then, slowly progress and, get rid of the helpers that I talk about in the video. And then, you'll be on your own and go have some fun with it.
Oh man, that's pretty awesome. But in true fashion, we're ping ponging all over the place here, because we went from your safety class, your safety course to that. So there's got to be like a whole bunch. So you bought the KLR 650. That was your first bike. You had that for how long did you have that for?
Let's see. I had it for almost 2 years. Okay. And in early 2018 is when I bought the Super Tenere. So I've had that. It was a 2017 Super Tenere. And I bought it last year's model, 2018.
Okay. Yeah. My, as you know, but I don't know how many other people, my dad, PODcakes, he's got two bikes. He's got the T7, the Tenere 700, and he's got the Super T, the 1200. I don't remember what year his bike is.
I think he said his was a 16. Yeah. 2016. His is the burgundy one, right?
No, it's blue. It's the Yamaha blue.
Oh, that's right. He told me that, and I started drooling. That's like the
Yeah.
perfect color. Yeah, mine's the desert
It's a super
sand.
nice.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, it's a super nice bike. I've ridden it, I think, I don't know, maybe once or twice or something. But yeah, those are definitely the good street cruisers for sure.
the
I
only
think
thing that it needs is more ground clearance, and then
yeah.
it would you know. I mean, I'm pretty stupid, and I do ride it. Somewhere somebody's going to take their T7 or wherever, but I suffer because it weighs almost 600 pounds.
Yeah, it's definitely a heavy bike.
Yeah,
It's not it's comparable to the Africa Twin, and it's a little bit heavier, but
yeah.
not a lot. Right? We're both in that same ballpark. And I don't think you're stupid for taking it in places, man. I sometimes I'm riding, the AT-AT, like, I'm following Critter or, I'm out here riding something and dude, I'm slinging down single track and I'm just like, yeah, it's 1100 or 250, take your pick.
Yeah,
I'll ride it both. I think that's just the way you got to ride.
yeah.
So you got
It's
that the Super T in a couple years, what, 18, and then I mean, what did you think about it? Why did you pick the Super T? Actually, that's kind of
so
with
I was
everything on the
looking.
market. That's kind of a unique bike.
Yeah, back then, the V-Strom didn't have cruise control. That was one of the bikes I was looking at. So it was the V-Strom. Um, I think the BMW 850 had just come out, um, and the Super Tenere, and I think that was basically what I was looking at. I don't remember looking at the Africa Twin. There was a Tiger 800 XCX. That was another one. But it turns out that they didn't have any in stock, so it's just like, okay, well, I'm going to go look somewhere else. Um, the Super Tenere ticked all the boxes, so I had the KLR. I was thinking of keeping that. Originally, the goal was, or the plan was, to get a small bike, like small displacement 250 or whatever, for riding off road. And I looked at it and I'm like, well, then I just kind of have two bikes that are about the same and do the same things. So like, let's get something that I can, you know, go from city to city and maybe do a little bit of off road, and then still have the KLR to go and ride off in the foothills and whatnot, and do the gravel travel thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought the Super Tenere. Has cruise control, which is amazing. It doesn't work very well, but I deal with it. And it's not that there's something wrong with it. It just could be better.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, the cruise control on my wife's Tiger 900 is so much nicer. But anyway, that's another story. um, the What happened next? So what happened was, I was like, I don't think I need the KLR and the Super Tenere. I need something in between, or smaller than the KLR. So I ended up with, I think it was 2018. Yeah, 2018. I also bought a used WR250R.
Wow.
And it had a super motard package with it. So it was actually the 250X, the factory supermoto that Yamaha was making, but I had the off-road package with it that the previous owner had put together. Just no-name wheels and hubs. It worked. But that was the first bike that I took down to Utah to ride in St. George. So I sold the KLR. Obviously, it was just like, well, I don't need the KLR anymore because it's just sort of sitting there filling a void that doesn't need to be filled.
Right.
And yeah, well, of course, I got bored with the WR too because I rode a KTM. So I sold the I traded the WR for a CBR 600 RR, because it's going to
Oh,
be easier to
geez.
sell the CBR 600 RR than it is the WR 250, and that was indeed the case. But I rode the CBR 600 around a little bit, and I was just like, I don't like this. Even to get from my house to the main roads. We live out in the country. I think I've got like 600 yards of gravel roads to get down. So it's not really the greatest bike for it. But yeah, I just didn't like it. So I thought about keeping it, and I was gonna, oh, maybe I want to go ride at the track. I don't know, do a couple track days here and
Right.
there. But it was just like, no, I don't like it.
I can't
So I
imagine
split
that was comfortable at all on the
it.
gravel.
Zero
That
comfort.
seating
Yeah.
position, yeah, no comfortability, but the seating position,
The first
just all
time,
of it. Yeah,
everyone
I
remembers the
agree.
first time they rode on a gravel road and how much they hated it. It was that every single time.
Oh man,
Yeah. There was no getting used to it. Yeah.
and just those things have like the instant power.
Yeah.
There's not a
And
lot
what,
of
like 12,000 RPM or some 14,000 RPM at red lines at it was just like, this is
yeah.
insane. I don't, I just don't need it. Yeah.
I think
Doing
I think we
60,
all
65 miles an hour in first gear, not something I need.
yeah, I think we all go through the crotch rocket phase at some point. Just
I think it lasted 3 months.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you said you went down into Utah. You went down to St. George.
Yeah.
Well, you're right by the Grand Canyon and stuff. Did you do any of that, or were you just now just kind of off road? Because usually when somebody's like, "Hey, I'm going to Utah," everybody's like, "Oh, you're going to Moab,"
Nope.
So
Never been to
St.
Moab.
George is yeah, St.
St.
George is
George is
close-ish. Yeah,
amazing. It
yeah.
has, like, the riding down there. Um, you can drop down. You can just head south out of St. George into Arizona. There's Warner Valley, which is basically a big
Oh
desert.
yeah,
Um, Absolutely amazing riding in there. Whether you like it or hate sand, you get used to it in about 10 minutes. Or at least through my experience. I hate riding in sand, but here's the guy who went to Utah to go and do it, and because that's what's
yeah.
there, and you just get used to it. It gets better with time, and well, I was going down specifically to meet up with probably one of the more famous motorcycle vloggers and YouTubers, and that's Everride, and he's probably, I would consider him my best friend. I still talk with him, text messages and whatnot. I've been down there 4 times just to ride with him and stuff. And yeah, we still talk to one another. It's pretty
That's
awesome.
pretty fantastic. Yeah, yeah. That's some amazing riding down there, and it
Yeah.
actually has one of the best roads to ride in that area, I should say. So I did it was back in 18, I think, somewhere like around 2018. I did a solo ride, and left from here, and I all around Utah and Nevada, and just chipping off some national parks or whatever, and
Yeah.
you kind of have zero itinerary. You just kind of roll, you're just kind of like whatever. And there's Highway 152, I think, from Beaver, Utah, up and over the hills, and it's a
Oh,
lot
and
of
then
gravel.
yeah, yeah, I know that
Yeah,
spot. Yeah.
yeah. So it goes up to like I think it's around 10,000 feet. When you're cresting over the top and you
Oh
go
wow.
down. But I got down back onto the highway, and I'm slinging down the highway, and I'm kind of pointed loosely towards Bryce Canyon National Park. And
Yeah.
I'm literally just going, I'm just whatever. I have nothing but time, right? And I just passed a sign that said Capitol Reef National Park, next left, 100 miles. I went, all right, looks like I'm going there,
I got feel for that. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? So I made that left. But there's was it the Escalante National Staircase Monument, and
Oh.
it's Highway 12 in Utah, and essentially if you're going from Zion National Park to Bryce Canyon or Bryce Canyon to Zion, that's
Yeah,
probably the road you're going to take.
Yeah, Bryce Canyon is east of Zion, if I remember right.
Yeah, northeast. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I hit the Capitol Reef, and then I went to Bryce, and then was heading over to Zion, and I turned this corner out of Torrance, Utah, and I'm kind of going down there. And my first time through this area, right? And I'm on a motorcycle, and there is a construction sign that said like the next 100 miles or next 112 miles, like curvy roads for the next 112 miles. And you're just like, yes, it's like the motorcycle's dream right there.
Yeah.
And it's a stunning road. There's a part of it where you're kind of twisting, but you're up on top of this like spine ridge, and it's not very far off the road, and it just goes down. It's just breathtaking part of the country, and part of the world, really. But it was just one of those things where, you're talking about going down to Utah and just, my trips over there, riding through there and riding in Moab. And I actually, the St. George, that's what reminded me about all of this was kind of getting to that is I got down to Zion and it was 104 degrees outside. And I was waiting for the tour buses. So I'm like at a dead stop and go, dead stop and go, stop and go. And it's just the heat's radiating off all the rocks,
Oh,
and it's just,
no thanks.
I'm all the gear all the time, so I got down to Zion. I kicked it back in the visitor center for a little bit. And then that was like the only night I was like, I am getting a hotel room. It is way too hot out here. I'm not going to camp tonight.
When we were in the States this year, we were coming up from Fort Bragg into Redding, California, and it was about 104. And that was too much. That was too hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of the border. I can do like 90, I can do maybe 95 or whatever. But man, when you're getting into triple digits,
no, like
all your gear, man.
We came up, what I think was at Chino. We sort of skirted around Chino and then headed up I-5 to Redding, and that was hot. And then when we were at in Oregon, Lake Abert, it was another 104 degree day, and it was like I'd rather sit in a hot tub at this temperature than ride my motorcycle. It was nuts. But absolutely spectacular views around Lake Abert. It was mirrors, like as smooth as glass. The reflection on the lake was amazing. And just riding through there, I think we ended up in Burns or Hines, Oregon that day. Yeah. Just absolutely breathtaking. I think other people have said it before about Oregon. Get yourselves to Eastern Oregon. It's absolutely one of the best places to go.
Yeah, you were right. Burns and Hines, that's right where Giant Loop does their ride.
That's right, yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, Southeast Oregon is only comparable to Moab.
Yeah.
That's the only other place I can compare to the riding.
Well,
it's my backyard.
Yeah. The episode that your dad was on, he was talking about riding up into Canada, riding through Banff and up Lake Louise and coming up towards Jasper, Alberta. And he was talking about that. I'm like, oh no, there's a better way to go. There's a better way to go. And I was thinking about it and just sort of plotting it on a map in my head. Like, no, this is the way you have to go to get there. This is way better. Ignore Banff. It's kind of pointless. It's a tourist town. It would be like, a motorcycle destination to Vail, Colorado. Like, don't go there.
Right. Yeah.
There's other places. There's way better, outside of the national park, unpaved roads that, and tons of spots to camp, all the way between there. It's just, that's where to go. Yeah.
Well, we're probably going to have to not get a hold of you, but we're going to have to chit chat a little bit because I think, in my mind, I'm thinking about, Get Lost 2024, leaving the north side of the island, like how Owen went last year.
Oh, yeah. It's coming down through Prince Rupert.
Yeah. Or further east. I don't know. I'm trying to kind of get everything.
Yeah.
What is it? So the ferry takes you essentially from, was it Port Hardy over to Bella Coola? And then,
Oh, there's that one too. That one's a little bit shorter of a trip than the one that Owen did. Owen came down from Prince Rupert, which is farther up the
he
coast.
came from, for some reason I thought he came from Bella Coola, but whatever. It sounds, something like that sounds absolutely amazing. And just to get back and take your time and go see some new roads.
One of my customers actually from Massachusetts was in Arizona picking up his Super Tenere. That's Ladlesport Adv equipped, I might add. He wanted to go to Alaska and possibly get to Prudhoe Bay, which is Dead Horse, Alaska. And if he wasn't able to get there, he was going to go up. So that's the Dalton Highway. He was going to go up the Dempster Highway from Whitehorse, Yukon, towards Tuktoyaktuk on that summer road that they built going up there. So he made it to Tuktoyaktuk, and then he was coming back down. But he asks me, he's like, I'm in Arizona right now. What's the best way to get to at least one of those points, either Fairbanks or Whitehorse, Yukon, so that he can get to either Prudhoe Bay or Tuktoyaktuk. And because he was just going to go up on the highways. I'm like, no, stay off the interstates. Don't do that.
Right.
And I use a service, plotterroute.com, because you can generate GPX tracks from it, and it's all online. It's pretty awesome. But I just sent him those. I just did go this way, stay here if you're going to go, here's a hotel to stay at in this town. And I think he was doing 600 miles a day if he was on tarmac.
Oh.
Yeah. But the cool part is he made it to Tuktoyaktuk for his 60th birthday. So that was he was sitting there, boots off, wiggling his toes in the Arctic Ocean on his 60th birthday and camping right on the beach. So he was stoked. And then he came back through Edmonton, and he stopped at my house just in the afternoon, and I quickly did an oil change for him on his bike and got him on his way. But that was
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think you just kind of brought up another segue there, that he bought a Ladlesport Super Tenere. So bring us to the beginning of Ladlesport. When did you decide, hey, I'm going to start making some motorcycle accessories?
I think we need to start with the name versus what it is now. The chicken. Yeah. Well, we have to thank Brett Tax for the chicken, and I'll explain that.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to turn around and grab some stickers just so I can hold them up to the camera.
Yeah, you do that. So I'm actually going to be pretty interested to hear about what he's got going on right here. About this part, I'm very interested. Oh, he's back. Stop talking about it.
I am back, yeah. So, Shouting Chicken,
there it is.
that is the slogan for my website, Ladlesport Adv. But we need to talk about where Ladlesport came from. So, back to the turbocharged Geo Metro. Honda had an aftermarket tuning company by the name of Spoon Sport, and they were producing parts and accessories and whatnot for all of the Honda models that were out there, and of course Acura. But I have to thank a buddy of mine who I'm only acquainted with on Facebook now, back in 2005 or 2006, who looked at me and said, well, it's not a Honda. I'm like, well, yeah, I know. He's like, ladles are bigger than spoons. So Spoon Sport, Ladlesport, that's where it came from. So, and that's just because the car was, that's because the car was insanely, it was just stupid. to ride around in and race. It was just completely useless, but fun to build. I think that was the first engine I built as well, in my garage. So
Nice.
yeah,
The
um,
spoon's big, or the ladle's
yeah,
bigger than the spoon.
ladle's bigger than a spoon. Yeah.
You
So
just showed that sticker, and I got to throw a quick segue over here on that. Is we just got my granddaughter the little electric bike,
yep,
and it looks a lot like my motorcycle, the AT-AT, and so when it came and stuff, I was like, I have a bunch of stickers from all my friends laying around the house, and Sean, I went over there. He gave me a couple other stickers to use, and I didn't have any Wolf Enduro, and he had some of those. So I'm kind of, decorating the bike and getting it ready to give to her because I really wanted to make it look like Grandpa's bike. And shout out to Giant Loop, for the zigzag bag. They just sent that over to her. So,
nice.
great company, so it looks a little bit more like Grandpa's bike. And yeah, I put the screaming chicken on it down on the kind of the swing arm of the bike and stuff. And she loves, that's her favorite sticker.
It's
I just think it's great. She kind of laughs
so
at it. Yeah,
in
that's the exact
there it is
one.
right there. I'll hold it up closer to the camera. It thanks to my brother-in-law who did the graphics work on this. First off, but where it started was we have chickens here on our acreage. They were warm enough when it was cold earlier this week too. They're winter hardy chickens. They keep warm. But I think it was 2018. I had the Super Tenere out. I had washed it on the driveway, and we let our chickens out run around the yard. They know to stay home, and they just do their thing. They know where home is, and they come home every night. But one of the chickens jumped up on my motorcycle and was sitting on the seat. So of course I took a picture of it. I'll send that to you.
Yeah.
But so it was like, okay, well, it's a Yamaha. And there was chatter on the Super Tenere message board about, like having like not a catchphrase. I'm not even sure, a slogan. And I posted that picture and I said, well, what about shouting chicken? And, it's sort of like, I'm probably going to end up with a cease and desist order for this, but it's kind of a knock at Harley Davidson and their Screaming Eagle. So
Right.
Screaming Eagle, shouting chicken. But yeah, don't hate
I think
me
it's
for it.
great.
You know,
No, dude, I think it's great.
yeah.
I think the name is great. I think the sticker is fantastic.
The other side of it is sort of what spurred on the creation of the sticker and the actual meaning for shouting chicken, and that is an effective trail rating system. And what I mean is everyone knows what a chicken sounds like. And it's the chicken, will sit there, but it sounds like a specific expletive that a lot of people use when they're upset, mad, scared. So, well,
Right.
I just rode down this trail. Well, how many shouting chickens was it? How many times did you sound like a chicken? And that was Brett Tax. He was doing a downhill tutorial on the T7 that he had rented out in Georgia or borrowed, and he was only using the rear brake with the ABS off, and he was clucking like a chicken all the way down the hill, and it was awesome. I sent him a bunch of the stickers and said thank you, but yeah, that's I Brett Tax. That's where that comes from.
I think that's fantastic, and I believe I know exactly what video
Yeah,
he had
I think it was
the
like
other
three years
trainer
ago.
guy with him. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah,
The same, wasn't that the same farm where they were showing how to jump a log or something like that? I don't know.
might have even
Um,
been the same video. Yeah.
yeah, it very well could have been. Yeah, so We got the stickers in. Tell us about the business. Where did that
So
come from?
the business, it originally started with one product, as I think most businesses do. I mean, McDonald's started with hamburgers, right? And that was the bar across the bottom of the windshield on the Super Tenere, the nav bar that they call it, because you can mount a bunch of stuff there. It vibrates like crazy and just shakes. There's no support for it. So the first product was to fill a void for the Super Tenere, and that was a bar that supports the bar. It bolts onto the side just above the fuel tank, and then sits in it just sits in the brackets for the adjustable windshield and just keeps it stable, so you can actually see the screen on your GPS or your phone when you're using it for navigating. I'll be very specific about that. And it just limits the vibrations even at 84 miles an hour off road. It's still pretty stable. I don't speak from experience.
Clip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was a closed private road, trained professionals.
Yeah. Disclaimer. Absolutely.
Disclaimer. Yeah.
So that was your first product.
Yeah, and
did that become a full-on business at that point, or were you just more like
I was just a guy
on it?
Just a guy contracting the job out to a laser cutting shop here in Edmonton and saying, make me 50 of these, and selling them on Etsy. And it got to the point where people were contacting me. Well, what about something like this? Can you do anything with this? And I'm like, well, yes, I can, but it incorporates products made by another company. So I can't use Etsy anymore, because that was their platform at that time. It's like for makers. It's the makers selling space. And if you're designing the part yourself, and if you're using a partner, in this case, the laser cutting shop, and then just selling it that way, you qualify to be an Etsy vendor. So I couldn't. Well, now I have the Hell Performance brake hoses, the stainless steel braided lines, because I was incorporating that into the fender riser kit that somebody asked me to create. I couldn't sell them on Etsy anymore, so I transitioned to using an e-commerce website through Shopify, and that's where it became a website. Or it was just a couple products and some stickers, or one product and a bunch of stickers on Etsy. And that was the Etsy thing started right at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. I launched on April 3rd, 2020 on Etsy. And I think I paid through the nose for them because the quantity was so low. I think I sold 10 sets just through the message board, the Super Tenere message board, in like 25 hours. And I was just like, well, I'm sold out, guys. Sorry. And dang. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's slowly growing. I think last year, 2023, I saw 40% growth over 2022. It just, gross sales. It's just like, this is cool. It supports itself. I don't have to put any money into it anymore. I took out what I put it back. I got back that money on that initial investment, and it's self-perpetuating now.
So you just threw out, the business grew 40%. Like, yeah, no big deal. That's pretty good.
Well, okay, so it's relative.
It's relative, but when you were talking with other business people or whatever, the trajectory per year that a lot of people that want to grow is about 18 to 20%.
Yeah.
So you essentially doubled that, and you got to slow down and be like, dude, that's awesome. That is awesome.
I'm going to stay humble and remain pretty modest about it. I mean, yes, it's definitely something cool to have happened, but
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't have
I
to be
don't know if
modest
it's
for
just
you.
like, yeah,
I'll say how it is, and I think it's actually kind of funny because when you and I first kind of started talking about doing this podcast, you're like, "I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk
yeah,
about legal sports," and I'm like, "Well,
it's
are you kidding me? Yeah, man, absolutely, this should be a part of it." You
yeah.
know,
So
and that's the humble part of you.
yeah, it got to the point where I had to learn how to model things in 3D, um, and try and absorb some business savvy and building a website. I don't much care for my website, but it serves a purpose and it does that thing. The way the website looks isn't going to sell product, so I don't really care. Um, and yeah, I thank you, Ian. I'll just say that. Thank you very much. I
Yeah,
mean that. Yeah, I will just
I
continue moving forward. I had the opportunity to work with some amazing partners last year. One of them being Takomoto down in Las Vegas,
yeah,
and
they're good.
yeah, they purchased a bunch of stuff from me and sold it on their website, and that was kind of cool to see my products for sale there as well. Um, yeah, thanks,
That
Mike.
is super
It
cool.
was it was a
Yeah,
cool opportunity. Yeah,
big shout out to those guys. I like everything about them actually.
yeah.
I'm actually, if you're watching this, I'm not like ignoring. I have another screen over here and I have your website actually up, so I'm kind of perusing going, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that."
I think I
Rock
remember what
straps.
the address looks like, or what the address is, but yeah,
What do you got? Ladlesportadv.com.
yeah,
There you go.
that's what it is.
Yeah, man. You got some
Somewhere
big stuff.
around
So
here.
I mean, you have a lot of stuff. I mean, you have brake hose kits, you've got
Yeah,
replacement braided front brake lines. I mean, you've got a lot of stuff on here,
yeah,
So it seems like starting from that one mounting kit, you've really expanded and into multiple motorcycles as well, right? Motorcycle families, if you will.
yep, yep.
Let's
There's
see.
and that's just because people asked for it. So it's just like, well, yeah, I can do that. Oh, can you do kits
Yeah,
for street bikes? Yes, I can get that made. So yes, they're on there too. Um,
yeah.
the Actually, the package that I sent for your dad, it has one of our water pump guards, and the water pump guard came to be because a company that shall remain nameless, Altrider, um, stopped making it for the Super Tenere. So I will make one and sell it, and
Yeah.
it's way cheaper than the Altrider one was, but that's because I'm not greedy. I can't gouge it needlessly. So
I mean, I'm looking at your prices and, a lot of stuff that don't fit my bike or whatever, but I'm still like, everything seems very reasonable.
well, I have
And
something in
going
the works
back,
for your bike right now, and that's why Owen's bike is in the garage. But you already have a similar kit, so I'm not going to make you change things. Um, but in development right now is a mid-rise fender kit for the Transalp, the new Transalp, and also the Africa Twin. And
very
that's just
nice.
it raises it up just a couple inches to get it so it doesn't have that mud lock that almost every adventure bike is famous for without a high fender. It adds
That's
two
exactly
inches
why
to
mine
that
has.
gap. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly why I got the high fender kit. We ran
Yeah.
into a situation and I was just like, nope. You're doing the Transalp one. And I don't want to name names, but Grace and Ben both spot the Transalp.
Yeah.
So just
It's
saying.
so because our riding season ended up taking us, well, I probably could have ridden 1 or 2 more days, but our riding season's typically over beginning of November here. And I was riding on New Year's Eve. I rode into town to go to the post office. Um, and because I was still riding my bike, I sort of put the project on the Africa Twin aside because riding bikes is important too. And
Absolutely.
we, yeah, so now because we're in the deep freeze still, it's about the same temperature as a deep freeze outside right now. Um, now is when I have to refocus, and hopefully my ADHD doesn't take over again.
Yeah, I'm actually. You're talking about that mid-rise kit. I'm actually going to be kind of excited to see what the finished product does and what it looks like.
Yeah.
I think I have. My high fender kit was from that company you just talked about,
Yep.
and
So I
uh,
should be perfectly honest. On my Super Tenere, I have the Alt Rider skid plate and crash bars.
yeah, yeah, they're a good company.
Yeah, they
Um,
are. Absolutely.
I one of the things that worries me a little bit is that the fender's so high, and
Yeah.
I'll just be rolling, and I've got full knobby on the front, so I'll just be cruising down on gravel or off road or something, and also just bang, just right off the headers, and I'm like, oh
Oh yeah. Yeah.
man, I don't know if I need to get some crazy like tank armor freaking skid plate that goes way up in the front. And I had to go get, also new, protection for the radiators that are down
Oh
there too, because it was just I don't know if Owen has any upgrades in there, but if you look at the radiators, they're just like kind of a cheap plastic guard in the front,
yeah.
and I
The
had to go
typical
buy.
the typical one. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
the
and I had to
Tiger.
go buy some metal ones,
Yeah. The
and I've
Tiger
got a
has the
few
same
marks
thing.
on them. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a few battle scars on them where I'm like, "Yeah, I'm glad that's, those are on there." Absolutely.
I think the Yamaha engineers and designers were onto something when they put the radiator on the side on the Super Tenere.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Probably right. So so what else? You got any other products kind of you're thinking about moving on to, or is it's kind of
I well in again I did send you something specific in the stuff for your dad, and that was a couple recovery straps. So over over my left shoulder here is my industrial sewing machine, and I can sew nylon industrial webbing with it, that's pull tested and whatnot, and I can do
yeah.
all sort of the yeah. So I can build recovery straps, and that's one of the things that I'm working on as well.
Yeah,
I
you
have
did, and my dad wanted to make sure that I really told you like how thankful he is for
oh,
that package. I wanted to do this big unboxing and everything, and had this whole thing planned, and then you got a hold of me. Somebody needed
yeah.
like what was that a spoke
The
kit?
the emergency chopsticks. Yes.
Yeah, man.
Again, food utensil theme to the name, um, which is on a few of the products. Yeah, there was a customer from Montana who was touring or coming down through into Washington and Oregon, and he was hoping for like super fast shipping. And I'm like, I can't do that without spending an arm and a leg, and
Right.
also you spending an arm and a leg for shipping, and it's still not going to get there when you're in Portland. However, I got a guy, and that guy was you. And I messaged you and said, I need your help.
Yeah.
And the response was instantaneous, like something might have been going on, like a life or death situation, but it wasn't. But yeah, you located the kit for out of the in the box for your dad, and met up with, oh, what was his name? Seth? Was it
Yeah.
Seth?
It was Seth. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I had a conversation with him on the phone, said, I got you the hookup. And you met up with him that weekend and did a bunch of work on his bike and stuff. And
Yeah,
that was amazing to see.
it when you text me, it's just like when friends need help, you help, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, dude, whatever you need. And then I got into that. I'm kind of looking at stuff as I'm looking in the box. I'm like, oh, this is rad. Oh, this is rad. Oh, this is rad. Oh, this
Yeah.
is what he needs. So I send you like a picture. I'm like, this? You're like, yeah. So
Yeah.
this kid shows up, and I thought the way our conversations were going, I thought he was a local guy. I
So did
didn't
I.
realize I didn't
He
realize
had
he
a
was on his motorcycle in a trip,
yeah.
you
I had
know?
no idea. I didn't make that
And
connection until he said he was in Montana, and his shipping address was somewhere, I think, in Vancouver, Washington,
yeah,
or in North Portland. I was just like,
yeah,
"What?"
it was a NoPo, and
Yeah.
I literally thought, like, we're texting back and forth, and it's not, people move here all the time, so it's not uncommon to have a different area code or whatever.
Yep.
So he and I are just texting back and forth. I'm like, "Yeah, man, I can meet you. Let's do this." And he was like, "Well, I can come to you." And actually, we had some stuff going on. I was like, "Dude, that would be great." So we have a grocery store not far from here. I'm like, "Hey, let's just meet in the parking lot."
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I'm here. I'm in the green Toyota, like in Toyota Tacoma. That's me. And I'm like waiting and waiting, waiting. No response. No response. All of a sudden, the freaking Super T pulls up, and I'm like, "Oh, that's
What?
him." Yeah,
That
wholly
was
unexpected.
that was so cool.
Unexpected. So
Yeah.
he and I are sitting there talking, and I'm just. He's new. He's pretty new to riding. First pretty big trip, and we're kind of talking like, okay, so you're new. And I look at his rear tire and I'm like, dude, this tire's shot, man. Like
Oh, no
this thing is
way.
ready to go, and your front tire is a little suspect. And he's like,
Oh,
yeah, I was just thinking about doing an oil change and stuff. So got a hold of the boys here at Apex Motorsports, the place I go to, and
that was
they hooked
wicked.
him up, got him a good tire and everything that he needed. And then I just said, just come to my house.
Yeah.
Papa Cake showed up and we all just hung out in the garage and just hanging out, laughing and joking around, changed his tire and did an oil change and all that, and sent him down the way. I haven't heard from him since, and I hope everything is going fantastic for him.
His Instagram has been silent, so, he did
Yeah.
create that account shortly after talking to you, and I followed it right away, but haven't seen anything, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
he seems like he's a funny dude, but he also seems like he's very just private, you
Yeah.
know. It's like, yeah, yeah, do your thing, man. So
I
yeah, that
I
was
I feel like
pretty
I'm in that
awesome.
category as well too, so, yeah.
Well, yeah, me too. No,
Yeah.
not at all. But yeah, to your straps, you sent a couple straps down, and my dad and I were looking at them, and he was actually getting ready to go home, and I'm like, "Hey, this is stuff for Matt," and we're kind of going through it, and I'm like, "Okay, now when you're putting this stuff on, take videos, take pictures," But he's 74, so he's like, "I forgot, whatever,"
Yeah.
and
I'm
we're
49
look
and I forget to do that.
right,
Even
we're looking at
installing
the
my own
straps,
product on my bike. "Oh, I'm gonna go and install this and shoot an installation video." Then I have to remove it and shoot the video.
right,
So,
right. You're like,
yeah.
"Oh, it works now. I know how to do it." But I was looking at the strength of the 2 straps, and one I think was 500,
Yep,
somewhere in there, and then
yep,
the other
that's
one was,
the
I
sort
think,
of the
2,200.
enduro bike one, yeah, and
Yeah,
the other one was, I think,
so we're
4,000. No, four
yeah,
2,400,
maybe
2,400
2,400,
pounds.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we're looking at the 2, and then my dad had the one for 2,400, and I had the one at 500. We're just kinda looking at 'em like, "What? No, no, I'm taking this one. You can have the lighter one." I said, "I'm the one that's probably gonna throw my bike down a ditch or something."
yeah.
I might need a little bit more. A
The heavy duty
little
one
more.
will flat tow your truck.
I've no
Yeah,
doubt.
it
There's
will.
no doubt that they'll do that.
The, there's a formula, so this again, the sewing machine behind me, where is it? Over there. There we go.
There you go.
Um, it, there's a formula for calculating how much stitching you need based on thread size and thread and stitch spacing and all of that, and thread material to figure out how strong the joint is. And that's why synthetic lifting slings work. And anything that you see with a sewn pattern, it's all in the inches of stitches that create the strength. It's that shear between the two pieces
Yeah.
that's most critical. And I mean, the thread that I use, it's not the biggest I can put through this machine, but it's big enough. Um, and it's what, 15 or 16 thousandths of an inch diameter. So it's a 64th of an inch. It's pretty big, but it's not the biggest. It's the next step up, I think, is like 20 or 22 thousandths and considerably added strength. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the straps look great. It's sitting in my bag on the back of the bike
Yeah.
right now. Goes everywhere with me. Yeah,
Perfect.
man. I think you got a lot of really cool products.
It's
That's
been a
just-
lot of fun.
yeah.
I wish I could be better at, sales and marketing and product development and, manufacturing and all that stuff, but it's one of a couple side hustles. So there's more stuff going on that you don't see too.
Yeah. Well, passive income, right? That's what we all strive for. Have multiple
Yeah.
sources. Absolutely. Yeah,
Well,
dude. I mean, I really like your website. It looks like what? Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Now I'm bringing up your YouTube.
Wait, what's Instagram and Facebook? What is that stuff? I don't even know because I'm terrible at it.
Well, your name is Ladlesport Adv on the YouTubes.
Oh, YouTube I know about. YouTube I can do.
I
But
can't
I
believe
just
I am not subscribed. I'm subscribed to you now.
you're subscriber
I
number
can't.
27, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
33.
Oh,
Well, right now on YouTube, man, you got Ladlesport Ladle Sport ADV. You got we got to get you up to at least 100 subscribers on the YouTubes for
yeah,
sure.
but
You
then I
know,
have to make more content.
well, it's I think it'll be worth it. You're trying to talk about marketing and stuff. This is the
Yeah.
perfect marketing tool.
I need to
Yeah,
break a
dude.
toe strap is what you're saying.
Well, we can try.
Yeah.
Dude, you got to that Super T. I really like that color.
No,
And something like
the
that.
desert sand. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
pretty cool color. And then I think you're the same on. Yeah, Ladle Sport. So Instagram is ladlesport.adv. That's you right there.
Yeah.
And you got pretty decent following. You got pretty good posts, and I always enjoy going through and stalking your page.
So you were talking, I think, with Chris about that one reel that he posted on his construction
Oh
on his
yes,
home renovation thing with like it's probably up to 7 million views now, but I think it was like five and a
good
half million.
carpentry. Yeah.
My my biggest one, my biggest reel was just over 22,000, close to 23,000 views within a week.
Wow, man, somebody hit the
Nothing.
algorithm for sure. That's
I don't even
awesome.
know how. It was a short video. I think it's like 12 seconds long, and it's just like, well, here's my wife taking off in front of me, getting on the highway, and here's how I can't keep up with her. That Tiger 900 she absolutely loves, but it's got a quick shifter.
Right.
I don't have a quick shifter, and
Oh,
she
here
can
it
just
is. Yeah.
she can elbow down and just go, and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, man. That's here she goes. She's gone.
She's gone.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Critter Carpentry. I don't know how that went. It's a pretty basic video, but it's pretty cool for sure. I was really happy for him
Absolutely.
when he showed me that.
Yeah.
I think I haven't got anything in the 20,000s or whatever. One of
I
my videos, we had Brooks Cooper, and he's a lawyer that was
Yep.
on the podcast, and put up a reel with him, and he's just talking about what to do when you get pulled over, and it did. I think I was around like 11, 12,000 or something on that. But the funniest thing about it is two people started arguing with each other. One
in the
was like
comments.
kind of yeah, in the comments is like one of the guys. I don't know. He seems like anti-government. No, man, this is you don't need to see my ID, this kind. And the other guy, I think, was like a former policeman or something. I read like the first two arguments going back and forth, and then I just kept getting notifications that they were just going off, and I just laughed. I'm like, y'all are just doing me a favor right now, just
Yeah.
bickering
It's
with each other. Keep it going.
it's those interactions that do it all. It's not the likes, it's not the views, it's the
Yeah.
comments, and not even the subscriptions, the likes, nothing. Yeah. I don't know
That whole
how it
interaction.
did it, but it did that one time. And
Hmm.
yeah.
That's pretty rad, though, man. Super happy for you.
Yeah.
So I am on a little bit of a time crunch here,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
And we're
But
2 hours in. Wow.
Yeah, it goes by really quick. A lot of people are like, "Man, your podcasts are too long," and I'm like, we can't get to know people, in 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever,
That's right.
and people. I mean, I'm very open to having guests back multiple times, and and just this is what I like to do. I like to have conversations. I might split some of these up into, I did one last night that was 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
guy outside the helmet with Billy Zuricat, and I'm gonna split that one up into two.
Yeah.
But that's just because it was extra long, and he is such a fascinating person. His story in general, you don't want to stop. You don't want to be like, all right, man, I hit a time crunch, so bye.
Yeah.
We just gotta go and get everything out. So, um,
There's still more to my story.
oh, I we're
And
not done yet. You
yeah,
know,
I'll continue
Eh,
talking.
yeah, like I said, I got it. Oh, I can see right there. I got about another 10-15 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Um, so you say there's more to your story.
There's a little bit more. I think it's more of, talking about the trip that I took to Vancouver Island in September last year. That was
Hmm.
the first time that I had taken a trip of that size, and it was, I think, nearly 1,000 miles one way for me to get there. Um,
That's a good trip.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was the first time of a trip that size without my wife, because she rides. We ride in the summer. That's what we do. Um, and I remember, halfway to Kelowna, BC, not Kelowna, Kamloops. I realized, like, I don't have anyone to talk to. I'll awkwardly talk to people at gas stations. Um, and
Right. Yeah.
it was really kind of neat. And then, well, I mentioned when we met up, when we rode past one another, on the Saturday at Get Lost, Find Yourself. Um, I totally broke down, and that was part of it. Like, you know, it really sucks that my wife can't be here to see this. And she was traveling for business. She was in Chicago, actually, and she couldn't make it. But yeah, it was really weird to do that sort of stuff without the person I normally do it with. We're pretty private people, and we don't have a ton of riding friends. We don't we just ride with each other, and that's what we do. So when the other person isn't there, it's like, should I be doing this? This doesn't feel right. Something is
I totally
missing.
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
I
if you were
totally get
driving
that.
team with your wife, right? It and then the one time you do a solo trip, it's like, well, what do I do now? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I totally get that, but think I think for you doing that on your own to that particular event was probably the perfect one for you to do,
Yeah.
because that it was just like we didn't really know each other as a whole, right? Just not you and I, but as a whole, you know.
Yeah.
And you would
A lot of
show up
people were
there and
meeting for the
everybody
first
was
time.
just like, but it was like we were a big family all of a sudden,
Yeah.
right? It was just like everybody was just like, let's do this, you know.
It was
So I
it
think
was such a great weekend. Yeah.
it really was. It really was. And the writing was just epic.
I I
Just
need to
so
see more of the island. Yeah.
you going back this year?
Yes.
Good. Is
Yep.
your
I
wife
think
coming with you?
she's deliberating.
Yeah.
Yeah. She
Well, we'll have to figure something out because, well, I'm going up pretty early, but
yeah, I
you're more than welcome to tag along with us on the way out for sure.
so that's the funny part. We're thinking of retooling or scheduling our summer trip around Get Lost, Find Yourself, so that we come back up through the Olympic Peninsula and then hop the Black Ball ferry to the island, and then head up to Nimkish. Um, but we haven't even started planning that trip, so we're definitely headed back to Oregon. Um, possibly even Northern California again this year. We'll see. But then, making it so we can come back through the island and then swing back up and then come home as the tail end of our
That
trip
is,
should be. Yeah, it could be pretty stupid in terms of miles. We did 4,200 miles last year on that one trip,
mhm.
and that was 17 days.
Yeah,
So
that's a
yeah, we'll
good
see.
trip.
Yeah, might
Yeah,
break 5,000.
depending on what the schedule is, there sounds like, and I might be speaking maybe a little bit out of turn, but it sounds like there's going to be a group of us up there, probably pretty close to a week early.
Oh
We're
wow.
just kind of getting everything ready, you
Yeah,
know. So it's kind of like whatever Critter says go, we're gonna go,
yeah.
for
I
whatever that is. But what I was gonna kind of get to, like if I'm around down here, you always got a place here to
Yeah, I
crash
know.
and
Chris said
you
the
know,
same thing. Chris Fant, because she may not be able to make it this year. I was talking with her on Instagram, and I know. Uh, yeah, she's not. She may not be able to come, but she's coming up to BC at the beginning of August, and she wants to get into the Canadian Rockies and whatnot. So my wife and I were going to meet her there on bikes and just
nice.
tool around for a day or whatnot, and then she's going to go her way. We'll come back home, but then that's right at the beginning of our trip. So while we're coming back up the coast, they're just outside of Portland. We were
Yeah,
gonna hang out there and on a chill day before we head up into the Olympic Peninsula. Yeah,
absolutely. They're great people. Yeah, they're not
yeah,
too terribly far from me, actually.
yeah,
But yeah, dude, that's how it makes me happy you got people around that you can hang out
yeah.
with and stuff.
It's
And by all means, man, if you want some routing and some sights to go see,
well, okay. So how do we avoid Portland?
well, if you're going to the Fance or my house, you're going to be right in the mat, right
Yeah,
around it. But there's a lot of places to go where you don't have to go anywhere by Portland. You can
yeah.
stay out of the Willamette Valley, essentially from
We
like Portland all the way down to Eugene, to the Willamette Valley, and you can
yeah,
do some amazing riding and not even come in the valley, man, for
yeah.
sure.
We headed south from after taking the ferry, the Black Ball ferry. We headed south into or no, we went to Port Townsend and then headed south the next day, avoiding Seattle,
Mhm.
just down through on
Yeah.
on the east side of the peninsula. That was fantastic.
Yep.
And then
Yeah,
we
that's the
headed
Hood
in.
Canal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then we headed into to Yakima, and we were accosted by the cashier at Walmart saying, "Why'd you come to Yakima?" But there's a really good Mexican restaurant in Yakima, so that's why we went. So
Oh, there you go. There you go.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the sign coming in from the north into Yakima says the Palm Springs, Washington. You're like, I don't know about any of that.
I
Yeah,
can't
man.
I can't. I've been to Palm Springs. I can't say that it's the same, but
Same.
I know that there's some good Mexican food in Yakima, and yeah,
Yeah, dude. Absolutely. Well, I think this is probably a pretty good start place to kind of just hang up the helmet for a minute. I
yeah,
definitely would like to have you back on and talk a little bit more, especially, once you get that stuff for Owen's bike all put on there. And I see how it is with Owen. He's like, "Hey, take my bike and give me something free, right?"
yeah. Well, I'm getting some extra stuff. But yeah, the first part of it is definitely on the house as the prototype, and yeah, he's getting free labor to work on his bike too.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that
we'll
guy.
have to when I get everything done and mocked up. Maybe we could do like a little quick one or something like that where we're both on. That
You
works
know,
too.
maybe we'll have to do a live with you guys. Do a little round table with the Canadians. That would be awesome.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I'll get Chris on it too then.
Yeah, yeah, might as well get all three is on there. Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be all good. We'll have to wear toques, right?
It's warm enough in here in the house that I don't need to wear it today, even with all this hair I got on my head. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Matt, I really appreciate you giving me your time. I know time is
I'm
valuable and precious, and coming on here, it actually means a lot to me. And I'm super happy, super stoked that we actually were able to connect finally.
it's
And
it
get
was
this thing
nice to
done.
talk. Yeah. It was nice to have the
Absolutely.
conversation with you. And I can't
Yeah,
wait to
man.
do it again.
Yeah, yeah, man. And I apologize because usually, I mean, we can go another hour or whatever. I just, like I said, I found out half
There's
hour before we came
obligations.
on. There was
Everyone's
like
got them.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all good, man. So, with that, everybody, you can find Matt. I'm gonna have to go back. It was ladlesport.adv on the Instagrams. And I'll put all the links down below. It's Ladlesport ADV on YouTube, and you can find um, ladlesportadv.com on the old interwebs right there. And just go down below. We'll put all the links to all things Ladle Sport. And make sure you go like, subscribe, share to everything that he's doing. And then we got the eat more pancakes up there. That's right. I love it. But yeah, like, subscribe, share to everything that Matt's doing. And if you like what we're doing, do the same thing over here. And, make sure you give us some comments and stuff, man. So just
And
like
maybe
that,
I'll wear
brother.
my tube next time.
Yeah, maybe. All right, brother. I appreciate you. We'll see
Yeah.
you
Thank you
soon.
very much.
All right.
Take care of you.